In my younger years, my father gave me some advice. I've really been thinking about it ever since. He said, whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. He didn't say much more, but unusually communicative in a reserved way, and I stood that he meant a great deal more than it. In sequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me, and also made me a victim of not a few veteran bores. The abnormal mind is quick to detect and attach itself to the quality when it appears in a normal person. So it came about that in college I was unjustifiably accused of being a politician. Because I was privy to the secret griefs of the wild unknown men, most of the confidences were unsought. Frequently I had fried sleep, preoccupation, or a hostile levity. When I realized by some unmistakable sign that an horizon for the imitate revelations of a young man, or at least the terms in which they express them are unusually plerastic and marred by previous suppressions, reserving judgments is a matter of indefinite hope. I am still a little afraid of missing something if I forget that, as my father snobbishly suggested, and I snobbishly repeated, a sense of my fundamental descendancies is parceled out uncouth at birth. My family have been prominent, well-to-do people in the Middle Western.
I'm paralyzed with happiness. Do they miss me?
The whole town's desolate.
How gorgeous. Let's go back, Tom. Tomorrow. You ought to see the baby.
I'd like to.
She's asleep. She's 2 years old. Haven't you seen her?
Never.
Well, you ought to see her. She's...
What are you doing here, Nick?
I'm not buying man. Who with? Bank of America. Never heard of him. You will if you stay in the East. Oh, I'll stay in the East. I'll be a goddamn fool if I didn't stay in the East.
I'm stiff. I've been laying down on the sofa for as long as I can remember.
Don't look at me. I've been trying to get you to New York all weekend.
No, thank you. I'm absolutely in training.
You are. How you get a single thing done around here is beyond me.
You live in West Egg? I know somebody there.
I don't know.
You must know Gatsby.
Gatsby? What Gatsby? Why candles? In 2 weeks, it'll be the longest day of the year. Do you always watch for the longest day of the year and then miss it? I always watch for the longest day in the year and then miss it.
We ought to plan something out.
Alright. What do we plan? What do people plan? Look, I heard it.
You did it, Tom. I know you didn't mean to, but you did do it. That's what I get for marrying a brute of a man. A great big hulking physical specimen of us.
Hulking. I hate that word hulking.
Hulking?
You make me feel uncivilized, Daisy. Can't you talk about crops or something? Civilization's going to pieces, and I've gotten to be a terrible pessimist about things. Haven't you read The Rise of the Colored Empires by this man Goddard?
Why no?
Well, it's a fine book, and everybody ought to read it. The idea is if you don't look out for the white race, we'll be utterly submerged. It's all scientific stuff. It's been proved.
Tom's getting very profound. He reads deep books with long words in them. What was the word we...
Well, these books are all scientific. This fellow's worked out the whole thing. It's up to us, who are the dominant race, to watch out for these other races who have control of things.
We've got to beat them down.
You ought to live in California.
The idea is that we're Nordics. I am, you are, and we produce all the things that go to make civilization. Oh, science, art, all that. You see?
I'll tell you a family secret. It's about the butler's nose. Do you want to hear about the butler's nose?
That's why I came over tonight.
Well, he wasn't always a butler. He used to be this silver polisher for some people in New York that had a silver service for 200 people. We had to polish it from morning till night, until finally it began to affect his nose.
Things went from bad to worse.
Yes, things went from bad to worse, until finally he had to give up his position. I like to see you at my table, Nick. You remind me of a rose, an absolute rose. Doesn't he? An absolute rose.
This Mr. Gatsby you speak of, he is my neighbor.
Don't talk. I want to hear what happens.
Is something happening?
You mean to tell me you don't know? I thought everybody knew.
I don't.
Why?
Got some woman?
She might have the decency to telephone after dinner.
It couldn't be helped.
It's romantic, isn't it, Tom?
Very romantic. If it's light enough, I'll bring you down to the stables after dinner.
We don't know each other very well, Nick. Even if we are cousins, you didn't come to my wedding.
I wasn't back from the war.
That's true. Well, I've had a very bad time, Nick, and I'm pretty cynical about everything.
I suppose she talks and eats and everything.
Oh, yes. Listen, Nick, let me tell you. I said when she was born. Would you like to hear?
Very much.
It'll show you how I've gotten to feel about things. Well, she was less than an hour old, and Tom was God knows where. I woke up out of the other and was utterly abandoned, feeling and asked the nurse right away if it was a boy or a girl. She told me it was a girl, and so I turned my head away and wept. All right, I said. I'm glad it's a girl. And I hope she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world, a beautiful little fool. You see, I think everything's terrible anyhow. She went on in a convinced way. Everybody thinks so, the most advanced people, and I know. I've been everywhere and seen everything and done everything. To be continued in our very next issue. 10 o'clock. Time for this good girl to go to bed. Jordan's going to play in the tournament tomorrow. Over at Westchester. Oh, you're Jordan Baker. Good night. Wake me up at 8, won't you?
If you'll get up.
I will. Good night, Mr. Cutaway. See you later.
The reason why we selected Chapter 1 was because we thought this was a great way to learn about the characters and what they are planning to do throughout the book. Fitzgerald opens his novel by introducing Nick Carraway, the story's narrator. The reader knows immediately that the story has already taken place and that Nick is telling it to us through the filter of time. He is distant from the events at hand and is recounting them by way of memory. Fitzgerald carefully develops Nick and positions him both within and without the dramatic situation, creating a dynamic and powerful effect. From the very beginning, even before learning about Gatsby, Fitzgerald gives details about Nick. His father gave him advice that he has carried with him for a long time. Nick comes from a middle-class family that values a sense of moral justice. The reader is encouraged to trust Nick and to believe in his good judgment. As the chapter continues, more of Nick's background is discussed. The story's first adventure, and the one that comprises a large portion of Chapter 1, is Nick's visit with his cousin Daisy Buchanan and her husband Tom at their mansion in East Egg. The visit not only introduces the other characters critical to the story, but it also presents a number of themes that will be developed in various ways throughout the novel. Fitzgerald sets the woman Daisy and her friend Jordan Baker in a dreamlike setting, emphasizing their inability to deal with reality as the scene unfolds and they begin conversation. The superficial nature of these socialites becomes even more pronounced. Daisy speaks in a voice known for its ability to draw people in. Another key theme introduced at the dinner party is socialite expectation. Much of The Great Gatsby centers on appearances and the rift between who or what one is and who or what society wishes or expects.